What's up YouTube, it's Tadpole here. I've been on Pokemon Showdown for a little while now, and I managed to stumble across a group of Pokemon called Cat Pokemon. It's also its own tier on Pokemon Showdown. What CAP stands for is Create a Pokemon. It was something that Smogon was doing for a while, and they still might be doing it for all I know, where they would spend a good amount of time, 3 or 4 months, creating and designing Pokemon and testing them out in OU and tweaking them to make sure that they weren't too broken or anything like that. And then they would hold like contests and stuff like that for like the design of the Pokemon and whatnot. And then they'd vote, and whichever design got the most votes would be used for the Pokemon, and they'd make the sprite for it and all that stuff. In any case, you can play with these Pokemon in the cap tier on Pokemon Showdown. And so I've been playing them. They're a lot of fun. They definitely change up the metagame. It's a nice change of pace. And I just want to, I've got some videos, and I want to post them, but in order to do that, I want to review these Pokemon. There's like 12 of them. And so that we're all sort of on the same playing field here, so that I'm not just playing with these Pokemon that you guys have never seen and have it be maybe confusing as to what the Pokemon is capable of. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll probably end up taking maybe 5 videos to do this. Depending upon how long each review is, there might be 2 or 3 per video. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first Pokemon that I'm going to review here in no particular order is this Pokemon called Syclant. Now what it is it's a bug ice type. And it's pretty much meant to be a sweeper, whether you want to do physical or special or even mixed. It comes with 2 abilities. It can either have Compound Eyes, which increases its accuracy by 30%, which is always nice. Or it has a new ability that Smogon created called Mountaineer. And what this does is the Pokemon is able to switch in without taking rock type damage, whether it's from a rock type attack or something like stealth rocks. So this means that if you know your Pokemon's gonna, or your opponent is going to be spamming Stone Edge, you can switch into it without taking any damage. It also means that you can switch in when your opponent has stealth rocks up and still not take any damage. So this alone kind of really makes this Pokemon, giving it an immunity to probably the most popular move in the game, is pretty nice. This doesn't mean that if it were to be, I'm pretty sure if it were like Whirlwind out or something like that, it would still be hit by Stealth Rocks, but the ability to switch in is pretty nice. Now for its stats. Its HP is base 70, its attack is 116, defense is 70, special attack is 114, special defense is 64, and speed is 121. I'll have those up on the screen there. This means, pretty obviously this thing is going to be insanely fast and pretty effective. The other thing that makes this Pokemon relatively dangerous is its extensive move pool. Notably, by leveling up, it learns moves like Ice Shard, X Scissors, Ice Punch, Bug Buzz. Its move to hit removes include moves such as Earth Power and Super Power. Egg moves include Tail Glow, which along with some of the others mentioned before, but Tail Glow in particular is really a problem with this Pokemon because that increases its special attack by 3 stages. And then maybe some notable TM moves that it can learn are moves such as let's see here. It can learn X Scissors and Rock Slide. Focus Blast with Compound Eyes is always really nice. It can learn Blizzard and Ice Beam. Hidden Power. What can't learn Hidden Power for the most part? Stuff like that. I've played quite a bit with this Pokemon, and to be 100% honest, it's one of those Pokemon that you're either gonna sweep with it or it's gonna do absolutely nothing. Um, I've been using a set that uses Focus Sash, and I'll switch in, and if there's something that I know I'm going to need to 2-hit KO, I'll try to switch in on that Pokemon in particular and do a Tail Glow. And the reason for that is after a Tail Glow, it usually can take it out in a single hit, and then proceed to sweep from there. I think I have a timid one with a ton of special attack, and I run Tail Glow, Earth Power, Bug Buzz, and Ice Beam. And this set seems to work incredibly well. I was looking on Smogon for in their strategy guide, and they tend to have it try to run spikes, and I feel like this is a waste of time, because even with the Focus Sash, it's going to get up a layer of spikes, and then it's going to lose its Focus Sash, and then it might get up a second layer of spikes if you want to do nothing else with it. But in general, I think the Tail Glow approach is a far better approach, in my opinion. You could do Tail Glow along with like some mixed stuff going on, like you could run Tail Glow, Bug Buzz, Ice Shard, and Superpower, or something like that. In short, the Pokemon is very, very flexible in terms of its offensive move pool, and it can pretty much fill any niche that you like. I know that like I said, I've played quite a bit with it, and it can be a game changer. There have been lots of games where I've been on the losing end of things, and then I've come in with the Syclant, and it totally wrecks teams that are unprepared for it. And I've been wrecked by teams. I've had my teams have been wrecked by it. That's what I'm trying to say here. Anyways, we're going to redo that. We're going to cut that. If you're not prepared for it, it's going to make your life miserable. If you are prepared for it, then it really isn't an issue. It is fast. It does hit really hard, and it pretty much can hit anything it wants for super effective damage, particularly with moves like Hidden Power. But all in all, it's a pretty strong Pokemon, and I feel pretty dangerous. On the flip side of that, most of the Pokemon that I've run across in Cap tend to be what I would consider OU status, and maybe even Uber. Anyways, this is just the first one. I've got a few more to do, a couple more in this video maybe, and I guess we'll go from there. Next is a Pokemon called Revenankh. It's a ghost fighting type. It has two abilities. One is Shed Skin, which has a 30% chance of eliminating a status every turn, and it also has the ability Airlock. Both of these are very important abilities in the OU metagame. Particularly Airlock when dealing with weather. That alone, it can become a must-have on any OU team just to eliminate weather while it's out on the field. Particularly if you've got an opponent such as, like, it stops taking damage from Sandstorm, it stops the power boosts from Sunny Day and Rain, and you don't take damage from Hail, and there's a chance that Blizzard might miss if someone happens to be using Hail in OU. Anyways, it is a ghost fighting type. I think I mentioned that before, and it gets some pretty interesting moves such as Power Whip and Hammer Arm by level up. Really, the only two notable moves there, maybe Shadow Punch if you are interested in that. By move tutors, it gets stuff like Ice Punch and Pain Split. It does get Sucker Punch and Superpower, so that's nice. And it gets Mach Punch and Shadow Sneak, most notably as egg moves, along with stuff like Earthquake and Drain Punch and stuff like that. Now, I didn't go over the stats, and the reason is because I just wanted to go over the moves real quick. You look at its stats, its HP is 90, its attack is 105, its defense is 90, its special attack is 65, its special defense is 110, and its speed is 65. Now, this is important because I'm going to compare it to a couple of Pokemon that we all are pretty familiar with in the OU metagame, or at one time the OU metagame, and those are Scrafty and Conkeldurr. And the reason why is because I feel like this Pokemon is the perfect marriage between the two. If you look at Conkeldurr, it is very powerful offensively with lots of defense and a ton of attack. But it's got relatively low speed and pretty low special defense. Anything that can outspeed it and take a hit from a Mach Punch and hit it pretty hard with a good special attack is probably going to take it out or come close to taking it out. Conkeldurr did get the ability Guts, which means if you try to cripple it or it can switch on a crippling move like Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp, or even Toxic, and have its attack be multiplied by 1.5. If it does get the burn, it negates that unfortunate attack drop, and instead just gains more power. I feel like this is kind of important because, at least the way that I play, and I've seen others play, when you're dealing with a powerful physical attacker that you don't have any way to deal with, if you can burn it, do it. And burning these things isn't going to help you. It's only going to make the problem worse. So Conkeldurr doesn't really have a particularly reliable way of recovery other than leftovers and maybe Drain Punch. Drain Punch is based off of how much damage you do, which is generally a decent amount. But if you're in a sticky situation where you're taking heavy special attacks, you're probably not going to be gaining back enough HP to do too much with it. However, they do deal with Conkeldurr's relatively low speed by giving him the Mach Punch. And this is, this should be pretty self-explanatory for anyone who plays the game. Having a priority move and going first is incredibly helpful, particularly when you've got a massive attack stat combined with maybe a couple of bulk ups and maybe a guts boost. The other Pokemon is Scrafty. Now, what Scrafty had was it was particularly bulky. It did a fair job being offensive, but I think what set it apart from Conkeldurr was its bulk. Now, it too could learn Drain Punch, which was a pretty reliable recovery move on it, but more notably was its Rest, Bulk Up, and Shed Skin combo. And what this did was you could bulk up for a couple of turns and then rest off the damage, and there was a chance that you would wake up almost immediately. A 30% chance to be exact. Basically, you could wake up early. And this was always helpful, even if it was only a 30% chance per turn. If you've ever played against someone who uses Scald, which is pretty much all of us, you know that 30% chance happens probably a lot more often than we'd all like. So having the Shed Skin ability is helpful. The problem with Scrafty is while he was bulky, it had an incredibly reliable way to heal and get rid of status conditions. It did not have any priority, and it was relatively slow. You could run a Dragon Dance set, but then a lot of those sets tend to focus more on the speed and offensive power and less on its defensive bulk. So Revenankh here, it's the perfect marriage because it can learn Rest and Bulk Up along with the Shed Skin. It has Drain Punch, which is pretty reliable, but it also has Mach Punch and Shadow Sneak. So it's incredibly bulky, has reliable recovery in lots of different forms like Moonlight, Rest, Drain Punch, stuff like that. But it also has the priority that it desperately needs with its low speed. And because this is I've played it, and I've played so many games where I've always, argued with Scrafty that if you give it a couple of turns to bulk up, it's probably going to be game. I run a Moxie set on mine, so I don't do the rest shed skin set. I've done it in the past. It is fun. But if I can get a couple of bulk ups in and start drain punching or ice punching things to death, it's probably going to be game. I've had lots of games where I've set up a couple of turns and then swept an entire team. And Revenankh here takes that to the extreme by setting up a couple of bulk ups and then drain punching things to death, and then picking off low health Pokemon with Shadow Sneak. I might post battles that are total sweeps with some of these Pokemon just to show you what they're capable of. I wouldn't say that it's particularly broken, but I would say that there are. It is. I feel it's a little overpowered. It takes what was good about Conkeldurr and what was good about Scrafty and puts them into one Pokemon, and it does drastically affect the metagame, in my opinion.